Now, global leaders have converged in Egypt for a high-level meeting known as COP27. This is the 27th Conference of Parties to the Global Treaty, the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. It is aimed at finding ways of slowing down the problem of climate change and reducing its impact on humans and nature. So let's talk about climate change and why this conversation is important right now. Let's begin here. Well, this is a level of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere captured over hundreds of thousands of years. But things began to change here, and we see a spike during the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s. And by 1950, the carbon dioxide levels were over the roof, and it has been on an upward trajectory since then. As humans, we've been burning more and more fossil fuels like oil and coal to generate energy for our homes, our transport systems, and things like that. So this in turn releases into the atmosphere large quantities of gases. Some of these gases, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, exhibit what scientists call a greenhouse effect, which in turn can cause climate change. And this is how it works. When these gases are released into the atmosphere in large amounts, they act like a blanket wrapped around the Earth, trapping the sun's heat and raising global temperatures in the same way a normal greenhouse would. So what's the impact of this? We're witnessing it right now. Water scarcity, flooding, catastrophic storms, and declining biodiversity, just to mention a few, because the high temperatures have a way of disrupting nearly all the natural systems. We also have sea levels rising rapidly because as it gets warmer, mountain glaciers and those in the polar regions melt and add to the seawater. Now, people are already losing their homes to the sea in some parts of the world. An example is Lake Turkana, which grew by 10% in the last decade to 2020, submerging nearly 800 additional square kilometers of land.
Seen doubling of the sea level rise during the past 20 years. It used to be about 2 millimeters per year 20 years ago, but recently we have seen 4.5 millimeters per year.
Now, the United Nations says right now our world is about 1.1 degrees Celsius higher than it was in the 1800s. Now, the World Meteorological Organization also says the increase in carbon dioxide levels from 2020 to 2021 was larger than the average annual growth rate over the last decade. And measurements show that these levels continue to rise in 2022 over the whole globe. Now, this graph shows CO2 levels during Earth's last 3 glacial cycles as captured by air bubbles, trapped ice sheets and glaciers. It shows how global carbon dioxide has changed over time. The map changes color as the amount of CO2 rises. And bear with me, this gets a bit technical. 365 parts per million in 2002 to over 400 parts per million currently, essentially referring to the number of carbon dioxide molecules per million molecules of dry air. So the key focus now is to slow down the warming before we face even worse disaster. And so, faced with a growing energy crisis, record greenhouse gas concentrations, and increasing extreme weather events, COP27 seeks renewed solidarity between countries to deliver on the landmark Paris Agreement for people and the planet.
We are in the fight of our lives, and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing. Global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator.
For now, however, as the talks continue, an agreement allowing diplomats to officially debate for the first time who should pay for climate change damage in the most vulnerable countries and reach a deal no later than 2024.
Between 2019 and 2020, a total of $11.4 billion has been made available to Africa for adaptation against an estimated need of $579 billion in adaptation investment by 2030.